It's real life crafting.
Okay, there we go. Let me get you live over here.
Okay, perfect. Oh, and you can see that really well.
Is that good? Do you want me to zoom in?
That's great. I think that's good.
Okay, I would give it 3 or 4 minutes to kind of let everybody find us.
Okay.
And then I'll let you go.
Okay. It's the lag, you know? It's the lag. Are we live right now, Courtney?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So, hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crafty Hour 92. And this is Scrapbook-N-Memories. I am Amy Brock, and I am helping out tonight with Courtney's Crafty Hour. If you guys didn't hear, their scruffy puppy of 16 years, who was kind of the store mascot, passed away this week, so we're just kind of keeping them in our thoughts. Yeah. So tonight, we're going to be making 3 cards. That's our goal. We'll see how it goes. So here's our different cards that we're going to try to make. Let me scoop those up. All right, so this first card is going to be a pop-out gatefold card. Our next card is going to be this card here, which is our stair stepper card. That's what it's called. And then this last card is called an open bay window card. Okay, so that's kind of our goal for tonight. We'll see how far that we get. Hopefully we get them all done, but we shall see. Okay. So I'm going to set these off to the side. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to emboss this backing here on this pop-out gatefold card. And so what we're going to want to do is we're going to take a white card stock. It's going to be your standard size, which is 8.5 by 11. And we're going to cut it in half so that it will fit in our embossing folder. So let's do that first. Let me scoop this over so you can see. All right, so we're going to line this up on the 11-inch side at 5.5, and we're going to cut it right in half. All right, so there we go. And we're going to have 2 pieces, and we're going to use both of those pieces. We're going to emboss both of those. Okay, I'm going to scoop this out of the way. Oh, before I keep going, let me show you guys a couple more samples. These are from Studio Light. These are actual, some of their designs that they have. So this is pretty cool with the window scene, and it has this snowflake vellum in the background. Lots of layers on this. There's even some lace on here. And then there's this card here, which is also just beautiful. It's a shaker card. This is one of the dies that's a part of this collection. It's just really pretty card. And then this is with they have these little boxes that you can make. So another, but this is actually in your paper set. So you could, you know, figure out a way to make one of these little boxes. All right. So those are just some more samples using this collection. All right, so we have 2 pieces of 5.5 paper. All right, 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to emboss those. So the first thing I'm going to do is get out my embossing machine or my die cutting machine. I'm going to be using my Spellbinders one. Okay, and my plates for this, if you're not sure, you have a different machine, you do what your machine calls for. This one calls for an A plate, the B plate, and then I'm going to do my embossing folder sandwich. So this embossing folder is really great. I think it's going to give a lot of good texture for backgrounds and things. It's a good one. All right, so we're going to put that in there, and I like to spritz mine with just a little spritz of water. All right, one little spritz is good. Put that on there. So again, A, B, your embossing folder sandwich, and then C. And I'm just going to crank that guy through. Get your muscles out, everybody. All right, crank that through. And it helps if you kind of put it sideways. That'll do the trick. And now the magic, right? Open up your embossing folder, and there it is. Ba-boom. Okay, and we're going to set that to the side, and we're going to do another one. Going to lay it on here. Going to give it a little spritz of water. Don't spritz your face or you're getting a facial. All right, and then lay it back in here like so. And put this back on. All right, we're going to roll it through again. And magic. Shaking the whole table. Ooh, there it is. Okay. So, we have that embossed. I'm going to put this away. Okay. All right. So, magic of the embossing folders. Totally awesome. All right, so we're going to be using that here in just a few moments, okay? We're going to set that off to the side. We have it ready now. We're going to just set it off to the side. And we're going to get started with our card base, okay? Again, this embossing folder, it was in your Crafty Hour kit, okay? It was in your Crafty Hour kit. It's called Autumn Chevron. All right, so here we go. We're going to cut our card base 8 by 5.5. So we're going to use white. I'm going to use white cardstock. You could use a color if you want. I thought about blue, but then I was like, well, everybody has white, so we'll go with that. All right, so we're going to cut this in half first. So I'm going to cut it at 5.5. Set that guy off to the side. And then we're going to cut it 8 inches. So we want to make sure this is 8. It's 8.5 right now because it's standard card size. So we're cutting that half off, and we don't need that. So we'll put that off to the side. And then what we're going to do is we're going to score at 2 and 6, okay? We're going to score at 2 and 6 on the 8-inch long side, okay? So I'm going to slide this in at 2. Move my cutter blade out of the way. That's like key, right? Okay. Score at 2 and then again at 6. Okay. Boom. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn our card at the 5.5 side, and we're going to go to the 1-inch mark. Okay, so I'm lining it up on my 1-inch mark here. I am going to use my cutter now, but I want to slide it over to where I have the score mark. Okay, and you can also see it here. There's like, your number 2, depending on what scoring and cutting tool you're using. And I'm going to cut down to the number 6. Okay, so I'm not cutting from the top all the way down. That's key, right? Like I've done that. Not cool. Okay, then you'll have like 2 pieces. All right, now I'm going to slide this around, and I'm going to go again at 1 inch. Okay, and this is kind of already at 6, but I'm just going to make sure. Okay, and I'm going to push down, and I'm going to cut up to that 2-inch score mark. Okay, all right. Then we're going to turn it horizontal again, the 8-inch side, and we're going to score at 3. All right, so we're going to line our edge up with 3. Move our cutter out of the way. We're scoring. Careful of that, okay? And we're not going to score this little piece right here, this cut piece. We're going to score this middle panel. All right, so again, at the 2 or 2 to 6, okay? 2 to 6. And then we're going to flip it around, and we're going to repeat that. So we're going to go to the 3, and we're going to score between 2 and 6. Okay, and we're almost done. We're going to next line this up at 4, and we're going to do these top and bottom panels, okay? So I'm going to do the top one first. We're going to score, so make sure you're using your score tool, and we're going to slide that down. All right, then we're going to flip this guy around, and we're going to do it again. We're going to line it up at 4, and we're going to score it. Okay. Now we have our card base pretty much ready. So what we're going to do now is we're going to work on making this mechanism pop out in the middle. All right, that's our goal here. So on this line here where we measured it to 3, we're going to give that just a pinch with our fingers. We're going to pinch these middle pieces with our fingers. Okay, and then we're going to pinch this other 3 mark with our fingers. Okay, so you can kind of see that that is now going to pop out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this side and we're going to push it up. Okay, so a valley fold. And we're going to do the same with this side, give it a valley fold. Okay, and then this is like the magic, right? Like you push these 2 wings together and then push this middle panel down, and then you can push one part over to the left, push one piece over to the right, and there you got it. Okay, and then just go the opposite direction with both those pieces. Okay, and then we kind of can open that up, and that's our card base. Okay, so that's all this part right here on our directions. We're going to flip this over, and now we're ready to cut some of our panel pieces. We're going to go back to this white piece that we set off to the side. This was from when we made our card base. We're going to cut it down here, 3 3/4 by 3 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to do the 3 1/2 first, and I want my cutter, and then I'm going to turn it and do the 3 3/4. I know those seem out of order there, but trust the process. Okay, so there's that one, and then we're going to take our embossing piece of paper, and look at your embossing piece, make sure it's a good one, okay, because you did 2. So we're going to do this one again, 3 1/2. All right, oops, by a 3 3. I did that wrong. Let me try that again. 3 1/2, not 2 1/2. 3 1/2. Whoop. By 3 3/4. Okay, and we'll cut back. All right, and what you're going to do with this is you're going to end up layering these 2 pieces together. Okay, so it makes it sturdy and stable. Okay, so now I'm going to move my cutter out of the way just for right now. We will come back and cut these panels in a few moments. We're going to get this card center panel ready to use. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use broken china or a blue that you love that matches this collection. Okay, it doesn't, you could have done, you could do faded jeans would be another good one. I almost went with that one. But anyways, I'm using broken china right there. Okay, and I'm gonna ink off onto my glass mat around, and then go around the edges of this. Okay, just like that. It doesn't, you don't have to do a heavy hand, just giving it a little color, a little something, something. Okay, and don't worry about the center because it's going to get covered up anyways. Okay, all right, so maybe one more little daub out here to the side, because what we're going to do is we're going to use that with some splats. Woo! I already have the lid off. All right, so there we go. Just a little bit of water. Okay, and I am going to pull up my splat box. Nobody judge me, okay? It's well loved. It's had a lot of splats in its life. All right, so here we go. Give it a little splat. This is just a really fine paintbrush. I don't know. It's super old. I've had it a bazillion years. It's a script brush. I don't know if that makes any difference. But it does the job. I just put a little bit of water on there and give it a little flick. And then we're going to repeat this process with some silver Gamby. If you don't have silver Gamby, there are lots of different Spellbinders. I know makes a silver splat out there, splatter paint that you could use. But yeah, see your home store. They can definitely help you out with that. Okay. But this is the Gambys. I'm going to just put some water in here. And I'm going to give it a good little swirl with my paintbrush. All right, and then I'm using silver. You could go gold. You could do really any of these would look great with this. But we're just going to give this a little doo-doo-doo, like so. Now don't put all your things away because we're going to use them again here in just a second. I'm going to put this out of the way for a moment. And I'm going to go back to my white scrap paper that I have over here. Okay, you should have maybe a piece that looks like this. It's kind of small off to the side, and it should measure the same size or close. It doesn't, so we're going to cut a new one. We want it to be 3 3/4. Okay, so I'm going to use a scrap white paper. If I was at home, I have a whole bunch just laying around. Let's see, I want it 3 1/2. No, 3 3/4. 3 3/4. There we go. And I might as well do the 3 1/2 just to be on the safe side here. You wouldn't necessarily have to. Okay, so what we're going to do with this is we're going to do like a tear paper technique, okay? Deanna's done this, Courtney's done it. If you've done Christmas extravaganza, you've probably seen it a couple of times. But what we're going to do is we're going to tear these papers so that they make these layers here of snow down at the bottom, okay? So here we go. We're going to cut. You can tear it towards yourself and then flip it over, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go on it. I want this straight edge here. I also want it to be the 3 3/4 part that I'm tearing, okay? Then I'm going to flip that over, and let's see, it's going to fit perfect. And then I want to use this other side because I don't want two rough sides. But you could, if you wanted to, and then hide this piece. That's fine too. All right, but I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to do one that's about 1 inch in length, okay? Inch wide, I would say. Okay, so, and then we're going to be layering these two. All right, do I feel like that looks good? Maybe I'll tear this little edge off just a little bit. If you want this teared look, you can pull towards you, and that will help create that too. I feel like that's okay for me. All right, so then we're going to ink this up again. Ink around the edges just to give it a little pizzazz. And this one, you don't necessarily have to do the bottom, but while I'm here, might as well. All right, we're going to do this one too. Here we go. And we're going to also ink these too. We're going to give them a little splatter. Whoop. So we're going to put some splatter out there, little ink out there. Okay, go back to our splatter box. This one's probably dry enough. Okay, we're going to set these in here. Cover everything that's important. Okay, and we're going to mist this. Ooh, little water. Same process, just same ink color, just giving it a little pizzazz. All right, wiping that up. If I was at home, I'd probably get a tag out and dip my tag in that ink. Okay, so then we're going to go into these. Now, you don't want to contaminate your Gambys with your oxide or your distress ink. So you want to do a little rinse each time. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Little flick gives it some color, makes it look like it's snowing. Okay, and then that is good. We'll take these. Whoop, whoop. Getting wild. Okay, there we go. All right, we're going to take our panel, our original panel, and we're going to glue, no, we're not. We're going to take this panel first, and we're going to glue it down. Okay, so we're going to glue it flat. And if you wanted to, you could have trimmed this just a smidgy smaller, you know, so that it will fit a little bit better. So you don't have any overhang or anything, but for the sake of time and right now, we're going to go with it. All right, so we're going to put some glue on there. We're going to line this up. Okay, and one way to do that too is you can kind of push it down on your mat, and then it gets a really nice edge. Edge is all nice and lined up. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to find the trees. Okay, we're going to find these trees that are in the background of this card. So those are on this sheet right here. This is a big sheet. The smaller sheets are like this size. Let me show you. This is the smaller sheets. Okay, but we want this, the big one. All right, so take a moment, find that guy, and when you do, you're gonna pop out these trees right here. Okay, there are 3 of them together, and then there's like some little twiggies in there, and they're over on the right of your sheet. And if you want to, while you're here, you could go ahead and pop out the little deer up at the top. We want both of the deer. Okay. Maybe. I feel like these really do pop out really nicely. I really do like the Studio Light pop-outs. They're really great. Okay, and then we'll come back for the snowflakes. Okay, let's set that off to the side. We don't want to lose snowflakes. If you know, you know. All right, we're going to ink. I'm not even going to put more ink on here. I feel like there's plenty. I'm going to just go around the edges of this with that blue again. Just kind of light. Doesn't have to be a whole bunch. Just gives it where everything kind of matches together. Okay, I'm going to glue this down flat. We want it to be towards the top and less towards the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over. Glue this guy down. Okay. Boom. And there we go. And I'm going to scoot it slightly over to the right. Okay, you'll see why in a little while. Okay, and then we're going to take this big piece that we did, and we're going to give it some glue. We're going to glue it flat on here as well, like that. Okay, and then on this piece, we're going to foam tape. So let me get my foam tape here. All right, and just put it right down at the bottom. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, it's homemade cards. Homemade cards don't have to be perfect. We just have to like them, right? It's all about the process. Having fun. All right, here we go. So we're going to stick this guy right at the very bottom. Okay, just like that. Look at us go. We've made our little scene. We're going to put our deer on next, but before we do that, we're going to ink them up too. It's all about the inks tonight. So we're going to do, this is Vintage Photo. It's also oxide ink. I'm using all oxides tonight. And we're going to go around the edges of our deer with the brown. Okay. And again, this just kind of makes everything match. Also, it kind of takes away a little bit of that really stark white. And for our little, for this deer, we're going to pop him up. So get some foam dots out. Okay. Foam squares, that's what I'm using tonight. Oh, that one's going to show. Okay, there we go. And let's see, I have some little ones in here. He's got to have one on his legs and one on his head, right? So he doesn't go flat or squishy, as Deanna would say. All right, so taking this off. And, all right, we're going to tuck him underneath over here. So I like to get his little legs under. All right. He or she, you know. And then this one, same repeat, right? We're going to ink up the edges with our ink pad. okay, just to make it look like it blends in. This one, we're only going to put a pop dot behind the head and one right here by the front legs, okay? So front legs, boop, and head, boop. And then we're going to put a little bit of glue on the other parts, because part of him is going to be glued down. Ooh. Struggles are real. Okay, so there we go. We put a little bit of glue on his legs. And we're going to overlap these front legs. So a little bit like that. We want his little feet down here, but not off of the edge, okay? So there he is. All right, and we'll put the snowflakes on the other parts on last, okay? All right, so we're going to set this off to the side. It's ready. We're going to move this out of our way, and we're going to do some cutting. All right, so we're getting our space ready to do some cutting. We're going to cut our panels that go with this card. And let me wipe this off. Okay. All right, so we're going to go back to our cutting directions here. We're going to do the cutting panels part. Let me move my card base. I don't want to mess that up either. All right, so we need to find this paper. It's blue. It looks like it has some trees that are in the background, kind of washed out a little bit. And it's big paper. I think it's the only paper that is like a full sheet like this, okay? It's in the bigger book. Let me show you that. It's in this size. Okay. Stay. Okay. Maybe. All right. We're going to do this first cut at 5 1/4. So we're going to turn this horizontal, and we're going to cut this at 5 1/4. That's going to fall. Stay. Let's see. Maybe I can move it over here. Ooh, okay. 5 1/4. Here we go. Right like that. Okay. And then we're going to cut 2 pieces at 1 3/4. All right. So 1 3/4. Right here. Oh, we turned this horizontal. Okay. So the longer edge is up at the top. Okay. So there's one. We're going to do another one. 1 3/4. 1 3/4. Okay. And then we're going to cut this next. So we're going to cut 2. We're going to go to 3 1/4. So we're going to cut this down. It was like this. I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut it at 3 1/4. Okay, so now I have it the right height, and I need the next cut to be 3/4. Now on my cutter, I want to scoop my paper over here and do 1 2 3/4 over here, because if I do it over here, I don't have enough room by the time I put this panel down. All right, so on your trimmer, depending on what you're using, we're going to go to 3/4 an inch. All right, so here we go. And we need 2 of those. So there's 1, 3/4 an inch, 2, okay. And then we need 4 of these 1 3/4 by 3/4, okay. So 1 3/4. So I'm going to turn this again and go to 1 3/4. I'm going to cut this. It's like we're cutting it in half, okay. And then I'm going to turn this again, and I'm going to cut 3/4. So this will give me, there's 1, 2. If you get lost, if I'm going too fast for you, you can always watch on replay on the Courtney's Scrapbook-N-Memories YouTube. All the crafty hours I know get posted there. Okay, now see how this one's like really tiny? We're gonna see how this goes. Okay, boom. We got it. And that saves us, you know, from wasting our paper. We needed 4 of those. All right, so now we're done with our cutter. We're gonna set it off to the side. Okay, I can leave these out up on top so you can continue to see that. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna decorate our card base, okay? So we're gonna take these 4 pieces. I'm gonna put them on first. They go at the top and the bottom of these little panels here. And I'm Team Eyeball. If you watch Maker Mania or Christmas Extravaganza, you know there's a team measure and Team Eyeball. I'm definitely Team Eyeball. All right, just a little glue on the back. Stick that guy on there. Okay, you could, if you wanted to, you could rough up the edges with your distressing tool. You could add another layer if you wanted to of little panels. That would look fun. Give it a little more depth. But for today, we're just going to add these pieces on. Sorry if I was out of the camera there. Let me scoot up. All right, and so there's those pieces. Now at home I cut some extras of these because I kept losing them when I was trying to make my sample. So I was like, I'll have backup just in case, you know, real life crafting. All right, these little guys go on these side panels right here. Now these are not your tiny 16th edges. They're a little bit bigger than that. And that's okay. 8, they're 8ths. All right, so put that on there, and then you know where these big ones are going, 1 on each side. Okay. All right, put one over here. If you guys don't know, I am a teacher in my real life job. I did that for like 21 years in the public school setting, and then I switched over last year for the first time and am doing an instructional coach position, which is a lot of fun. And I'm working on getting an admin degree, so we'll see where that takes me in the next few years. So anyway, all right, so now we have our card base, and we get to do a fun part, okay? So we're gonna take this panel, and it's gonna go here, but we're not just gonna, like, you know, stick it on there. There's a process, all right? So on this part right here, we're gonna get our Scrapbook-N tape out because we want this to, like, be stable and sturdy. And I learned this trick, I don't know, probably from Courtney, where you put the tape like on your wrist like this, and it's like so much easier to use. But we're gonna turn our card base, and we're gonna put this almost to the edge of where that score line is. And we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna do one in the middle. You don't have to do a ton. This stuff really sticks well, but you do want it to be, you know, sturdy enough that it doesn't fly off on you. You could probably use 1/2 inch. I couldn't find my 1/2 inch, so I went with the 1/4 inch. So anyways, that's what we're gonna do there. Okay, and then score tool. Love this thing. It's super like ergonomical. Really fits in the hand nice. Okay, and then we're gonna peel these off, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little glue on there because it's gonna help this be able to slide if I need it to for a hot second. Okay, so we're gonna push this close like this, okay? And we're gonna put our glue on there. I almost forgot. Put the glue on, right on the tape. You can put a little line down the middle too if you really want to. But it's gonna help you be able to move this if you don't want it right where it's at. Our goal when we put this on is we want this to be even with like the edge of this pattern paper, okay? Not the white edge, not like it's gonna be, you know, over to the very edge. We want it lined up with the pattern, but we also want to make sure we don't go past like the top and the bottom. Okay, it's slightly tricky, but not too bad. So what I do is lean it over, and then I give it a little press from there. Okay, and it should be even on the other side as well. All right, and then give it a good press down. All right, and there we go. And then you can kind of give it a little dance so that you make sure it can move around. All right, so there's that part. Now we're gonna find our snowflakes, which, if you remember, are back on this sheet right here. Okay, and the ones that we want this big one up here in the corner. Pop that guy out. We want this tiny baby one also up here in the corner. And we want the medium one, which is over here by the moose butt. Okay, so there we go. So here, here, and here. Those are our snowflakes. Okay, then you can set that off to the side. All right, we're gonna ink these guys up. Again, I'm not even putting ink on my ink tool. I'm just going with it, okay? You don't need a lot, just enough to get those white edges to dissipate a little bit. All right, here we go, inking it up. Okay, now what we're gonna do, the big one, we're gonna flip him over and we're gonna put a pop dot on the back. Okay, we're gonna stick him up in the corner. Now you don't want him sticking up off the top of this edge, okay? So he can stick off on the side over here, that's totally fine, but don't let him stick up over here, up off the top. Okay, and then we're gonna go with the little baby one, and we're gonna put a pop dot on that one. Now you could make this totally flat if you wanted to. You could glue all these pieces flat, but I like dimension. I think it makes it fun. There's the little one, he's down there. And then we're gonna put this medium-sized one over here with the little deer. Just putting a pop dot on there and popping that guy up, put him in the corner. Again, you don't want this one to stick off the edge of your card. Okay, and then the last thing we need is well, two things. We have a little sprig of tree branch, okay, and a sentiment. So let me get those out. I gotta find them my own self. Let's see where they are. The sentiment is in your little book in the very back. It's right here. It says, "You're a deer." Of course, you could use any sentiment you want. A little trick with this is I would push from the bottom up, because otherwise you could rip it and then you have a white showing on your sentiment. Okay, so there's your sentiment. And then we're gonna look in here because I think the sprig is in here too. We will find it together. Here it is. So it's on this page with the owls in the top right corner. All right, we're gonna pull that guy out. Okay, now we can set those off to the side. Okay, and we're gonna ink this up with the brown. Okay, I'm also going to cut, anybody see my scissors? Oh, I found them. We're gonna cut this off. I'm actually gonna dip it down. On my original, I didn't do that, but I think on this one, I'm going to. And it's gonna get glued up here, and this is gonna stick off, not glued, pop dotted. It is gonna stick off the edge a little bit, okay? And I did a double pop dot two of these because of the dimension. But that's up to you. Again, if you don't want it to be that high, that's totally fine. And I'm gonna make this one stick off. I don't want it to stick on his little ear. All right, just up there in the corner. And then on this, we're gonna put a foam strip. I'm using waffle flower ones. I really like them because they have like different sizes. I'll show you what they look like. They're like this, like, see how these are like shorter and then these are kind of a little bit longer, and then you have really long ones, and I like the height. There's different heights even of these. So anyways, we're going to put this in the bottom right corner. You're a deer. Again, any sentiment in there would work amazingly for this card. All right, and then there we are. This card is pretty much done. If you would like, you could go in and add some bling, okay? All right, so there's our first card. All right, let's get going on our second card. All right, our second card looks like this. And this card is called a stepper card. Stair stepper card. Okay, here we go. Right here. So for this card, we're going to start with our card base, which is 9 by 4 1/4, and it's going to be white. All right, so you want to get out your white cardstock. Okay. I need my cutter. Get that out of the way. Scissors. You know, craft space. You start big, and then by the end, you're down to like a 1/4 inch space. Okay. So 9 by 4 1/4. All right, so I'm going to go to 9 on the 11-inch side, and then we're going to turn it and go to 4 1/4. Okay, boom. All right, so that's our 9 by 4 1/4. Then we're going to score. Let me set this over here so you can see that. We're going to score at 1 1/4. So remember, you're scoring and not cutting, okay? We're going to score on the long, we have the long edge at the top, okay? 2 1/2, score. 5 3/4. Okay, and that's it on our scores. Then we're going to fold it mountain, valley, mountain, so it looks like kind of like this. Okay, you can maybe like that, kind of helps. All right, so mountain, valley, mountain. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to get a colored paper. Now you could use gold. I thought about gold. I thought that'd be kind of fun. I'm going to use green. Okay, and we're going to cut it 11 by 3, or if you start with an 11-inch paper, 11 by 8 1/2, you could do, you know, 11. You could cut it to 3. All right, so 11 by 3. And I've got, let's see what I got here. Here we go. This was a 12-inch paper, and I'm going to cut it. So I'm going to make sure first that it's at 11, which it was not. Okay. By 3. Okay. All right. And then we're going to score this at 5 1/2. Okay. We're going to score it at 5 1/2. So scoring, not cutting, scoring 5 1/2. There we go. And then we're going to fold that guy in half. Okay, so we're going to set that off to the side. Okay, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut our panels for this card. We need a center panel. Let me see if I can readjust this for a second. We need a center panel at 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. And so that's just going to be, we're going to use our pattern paper, our embossed paper, there's the word, embossed paper to do that. Okay, so I'm going to cut it at the 5 1/4 first. So I'm going to use my long side. 5 1/4. And we're cutting it. Whoop. And then we're going to cut that 2 3/4. So I'm turning it 2 3/4. Okay. And then we're going to ink this panel up in a second. So we're going to set that off to the side. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to find our green plaid paper, which looks like, let me see if I can find it here in my array of items. Green plaid paper, there it is, found it. Okay, set those off to the side. All right, green plaid paper, it looks like this, but it's like a full sheet. Okay, we're gonna cut this paper down to 3 by 4. All right, so I'm gonna cut it 3 by 4. And you're probably starting with a full sheet, and that's okay.
Are you showing them this? 'Cause
Yes. Are off. Let me see. There you go.
Okay, it was off the screen.
Sorry, guys. Thank you. All right, so that pattern paper is 3 by 4. This green plaid. And then we're going to cut one more piece from that, which is a 1 by 4. Okay, so one more piece from that, 1 by 4. I like this dark edge, so you can turn your paper to try to kind of find that. Gives it a little more interest. All right, so again, I'm going to go over here on this 1-inch side because I want a 1 by 4. If I try to cut it over here, like if I turn it like this and then I lay this down, my fingers are in the way and I want it nice and straight. So over there it goes. I'm cutting that piece. That's 1, and then I need to cut it by 4. So I'm going to turn this and cut it by 4. There we go. All right, so we're going to use those pieces here in just a second. I'll give you guys just a second. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to set this off to the side. I'll try to leave that in view for you so you can continue to see it. Okay, we want to, I embossed this middle back panel. That's really up to you if you want to do that or not. I think for sake of time for me today, I'm not going to do that, but you can do that. Let me show you where it's going. It's going inside here, so you don't necessarily need to. And then there's also this little front panel here. That's the little 1-inch strip. So I'm also, just for the sake of time, I'm not going to emboss those right now, but you could, and it would give it some extra texture there. All right, so we're going to get our card base out. Okay, all our pieces are here. Okay, and we're going to glue this piece on the front. So we're going to glue it flat. And again, we're going to eyeball it. Make sure you leave some white all the way around the edges. And I'm going to scoot that over just a smidgy. And down. All right, there we go. And then this one also in the back, we're going to glue it flat. And I'm going to turn this because I want this darker design to be up at the top so that you'll see it actually. Ooh. We almost have it. There it is. Okay. There we go. All right. Now we're going to set this out of the way. Okay. I'm going to set it off to the side. I'm going to come over to this piece. I'm going to ink this up with yellow, and I used mustard seed, but you could use probably fossilized amber would look really good too. And don't mind my ink pad. I know it looks crazy, but it still works for me, so I'm going with it. I think it like grew a mold. I'm not really sure. Anyways, so I'm going to do this color first. This is, again, mustard seed on here. Okay. And again, I'm just kind of doing the outside edges, not a super heavy hand, and going around the edges. Okay. And then we're going to glue this into the center of our panel. And you know yellow, it just really, it's so vibrant. Okay. What we could do, ooh, idea. We could take our vintage photo. I may try it. Take our vintage photo and maybe go around it too. Ooh, yeah, and that kind of, you know, calms it down a notch with the bright yellow. Okay, yeah, liking that. Okay. All right, so we went over it with a little bit of vintage photo. All right, now we're gonna glue this on here, right in the center. So let's do that. Glue, glue, glue. All right, yeah, what am I doing? I have this glue. I don't know if you guys have tried this yet. It's totally awesome. I like it actually a tiny bit better than the Helmar just because it doesn't like, you know, volcano out at you after you close it. And I kind of like the bottle size too. Anyways, it's a good glue. Call all. It's the new one that's supposed to be kind of helping take the place of the Helmar. All right, anywho, back to our card. Put this guy right in the middle of your green panel. Try not to get glue on everything. Okay. There's that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find our die cut sheets. Okay, we need, from the little book, we need this one with the tree. Okay, you see this tree? It's got like a basket bottom. There's a wreath. There's an orange and cinnamon garland. And then we need this one here that has this garland at the bottom, this little bow. Those are the things we're going to be using. All right, so we need those two sheets. Okay, and we need the window. Where's my window? Let's see. Oh, here it is. We need one more sheet. You don't have to tear them out of your book either. I just did so that you could see the actual page. We need this page too because we want this window right up here. All right, so we're going to start with that. Let's take that window out. Okay, and we're just going to glue it right towards the top. Puts a little bit of glue on there. It's getting glued flat right up here at the top. Not too high up because we're going to put our garland down. I'd say it's about an inch from the top, maybe 3/4 inch. Okay, and you kind of want it centered on each side. All right, that's our focal point of our card. Then we're going to find this garland. Okay, it's at the bottom of this page with the moose window and the tree window and the little birds. All right, we're going to pull that out. Okay, what I want you to do first is you're going to cut off this white. Okay, and we're going to line this up with the edge of the yellow and just kind of look to see, you know, where you see an edge there. And I just am going to trim it right at that mark. Okay, and I know that's right where I need, how long I need it to be. Even if it's a little over, it's okay. And then try to cut as straight as you can. A little trick is if you have your big Tim Holtz scissors and you make one big cut, it cuts it straight. Then what we're going to do, we're going to ink this up. You're going to need your vintage photo for this card, a lot of these pieces. So we're going to vintage photo ink. And we're going to pop this up. Okay. Okay, lay that on there. Pop that guy up. We're going to line up one of the edges. You could go above the top a little bit. The key is that you go over your window. You want it to overlap on top of your window, okay? Then what we're going to do, you can set that to the side. We want this little bow here. Okay, move that out of the way. Okay, so we want this little bow. Now, do you see how there's this blue in here? I'm going to go ahead and go in there and kind of cut that out. And little tiny fussy cutting, not bad. All right, and then we're going to also vintage photo that ink. Okay, right around the edges. And we're going to pop that. And I put one towards the top of each part of the little bow. one pop dot. And then that guy gets glued right, or pop dotted right in the middle of that window. Okay? All right, next thing we're going to do is get the Christmas tree. So we're going to set that to the side, find our Christmas tree. Not this page, not this page. It's on this one. It's this kind of this big fir tree here. Okay. And you guessed it, vintage photo on the edges. Okay. Almost got it there. And we're going to glue it flat. Now, the key to this guy is that we want a little bit of him to hang off, right? It gives our card some interest. So we're going to line him up. He's going to be just slightly above that first pane of glass at the top. And don't worry about the bottom because we're not really going to see it. We're going to scoot him in. Okay. All right, there he goes. Look at him go. Setting our scene. Okay, so there he is. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to find these packages. There's a brown one, a green one, and this blue shirt wrapped package. So we're going to pull those out. Brown one, green one, and the blue shirt one. And while you're at it, down here in the bottom, there's some candles. We're going to pop those out too. Okay. All right, and then you guessed it, we're going to, all but this blue one, don't do anything yet with that guy. We're going to put vintage photo around these. Okay. Some vintage photo around the edges. All right, we're going to do our candles. And let me show you guys a fun little trick. So you could take your yellow from earlier and on the edges of your little candle wicks, just give it a little, and it kind of makes them look like they're glowing. Okay, now this blue one, I went around with my broken china and went around the edges of that just to make it, because it needed a little, like, something down there to pop. So it just kind of makes it pop a little bit. Okay, take your green package. I know the trees are upside down. I'm not exactly sure why. It's just the way this package is. If we flip it over, it looks kind of funny. Anyways, we're going to glue this guy flat. Okay, and we're going to glue it right on top of that base of that tree. Okay, then we're going to take the brown package. We're going to glue it flat. Okay, and it goes here. We're going to overlap again. He's kind of, this line is kind of in line with this center part of the window, if that kind of helps. All right, then our candles, we're going to pop those up. Okay, pop those up on the boxes. And then this guy, we're going to pop him up too, but we're going to put him at a slight angle. All right. I'm just going to put 2 good pop dots on there. Squares, foam squares. All right. I'm going to give him a little angle, stars down, like that. Okay, and then we need our stars. Stars are on the page with the ballerinas, I believe. Okay, the stars for this are on this little page with the ballerinas. So there's one here in the middle. Okay, that big one. And then we want this top one up here by the gold ballerina. Okay, get those little pieces out. Okay, and we're going to ink those up with the yellow. We're going to give it a little bit of yellow. Make them look like they're glowing, right? And again, I'm not re-inking my dauber. I'm just going with what was already on it, so it's not super stark. Okay, we're going to glue this one flat up at the top, and it's going to go under your garland a little bit. Okay, like so. And then this one we're going to pop. We're going to give it a little pop square. And we're going to overlap it, give it some dimension. I kind of make where my points stick out in between the other ones. And then I'm going to make sure this bow is on top. All right, something kind of like that. Now, all we need is our little sentiment, Merry Christmas, which is on this big page where we got our little deer from. Okay, and it's down here in the bottom left corner. We just want one of those guys, so we're going to pop that out. Right, like that. And we're going to ink this up with a little bit of vintage. Okay, it just kind of helps pull it all together. Now, this is going to get laid here. And what we want to do is put a little bit of foam tape on the Christmas, the word Christmas. All right, and then we're going to put glue on the other part, the Merry. All right, so there we go. We got a little bit of foam strip. And then we're going to put glue on the Merry. Okay, let's see. The key is being able to get that off sometimes. All right, we did all right. All right, and then this goes right here. And it can hang over a little. It gives it some interest. All right, so there's that part. So now all we have to do is put it on our card base, okay? So for that part, what we're going to do is we're going to open up this panel, and we're going to put glue up here at the top, not a ton, and then some down here. We're not gluing this middle part, so don't put any glue there. All right, so we're going to do some glue down here. All right, and we're going to do some glue up here. And you kind of want to do them both at the same time, but if you don't, that's okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this top part first. I'm going to lay it in the middle. I'm going to line this up with the edge, looking towards the middle and making sure that it looks even on both sides. This green to white looks pretty even. Then what you do is you just close this, flip it over, lay this down. You already got glue on there, so it's gonna stay. Give it a good press. And there's that card, okay? So it steps up like that. Sits up like that, okay? There's the side like so. All right, so there is the side stepper card. All right, our last card. Do we have time, Courtney?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. I'll show you how to do the base, and then I'll leave you guys to it, okay? Let me show you how to do the base, and then you guys can do the rest, okay? All right, so let me pull that base out. All right, so this is an open bay window card. That's what this card is right here. Open bay window card. All right, and I use the ballerinas, but you can get real creative. There's a lot of fun die cuts in there. So let's do at least the base, and then I'll leave you guys to do the decorating. All right, so what you need is you're going to cut a base 10 by 5.5. All right, and I use green. Let me see if this piece is big enough for this. Anybody see it? Oh, yes, here it is. All right, so 10 by 5.5. Let's see if this is 5.5. There we go, 5.5. So I'm gonna get that base going. It's all about that base. All right, by 5.5. Oh, that is 5.5, Amy. All right, so by 10. So go down here. Boom. Then what we're going to do is we're going to score at 1 3/4, which I'm going to come on this side. 1 3/4. We're going to score. And then we're going to score at 3 3/8. So 3/8 is a big notch less than the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, 3/8. Okay. All right, and then we're going to flip it, and we're going to repeat. So 1 3/4, 1 3/4, 3 and by 3, and then do 3 3/8, score. Okay. All right, so that kind of gets you that part. We'll set that to the side. Then what we're going to do is cut 2 long strips, 3/4 by 10. Okay. All right. So I have another. Let's see. Maybe I can use this piece. Sometimes this works out for me. Okay, by 10. So I'm going to cut the 10 first, because I have a small piece. If you were doing your big, you know, 12 by 12, you would really want to cut it the 3/4 first. I'm going to cut this to 10, and then I'm going to cut my 3/4, and I'm going to go over here on this side, because again, you know, I won't be able to close my cutter otherwise. Okay, there's 1, and 3/4 again. 2. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, let me not get that confused. We're going to score these, okay? We're going to score at 1 3/4. Let's get your cutter out of the way. 3 3/8. Remember, that's a little less than half. 3 3/8. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to flip 1 3/4. And then 3 3/8. Okay, we're going to repeat that with our other strip. 1 3/4. 3 3/8. You're going to be an expert at 3 3/8 when you get done. Okay, and then I'm going to flip this around. 1 3/4. And then 3 3/8. And that will kind of get you like your card base. So let me show you kind of what it will be, how to put that much together. So on your card base here, you're going to fold these outside wings inward, the inside one in. Okay. I'll tell you what it is here in a second. And then this one also fold it in. And then you're going to have something that looks like this. Okay. And then these 2 pieces, you're going to do like the opposite. Okay. So let's see. It's going to look like a backward Z on the right side, and then a Z on the other side. There we go, like that. Okay, so it's going to be like the opposite. And then what happens is you would glue these on, okay, your top and bottom. So I'll just do that much so I can kind of show you where we're headed, so you have an idea. So lay that like that, and then you do this other side similar. Okay, and then you do the bottom one just like similar. Okay, you're gonna fold in and then back, and then this side you're gonna fold in and back. All right, and this will get glued down at the bottom. And when you go on your card to put it together and do your panels, you want your outside wing panels to go on after you do this part, okay? Because it's covering up these little tabs up here that you use to make the base, okay? I did emboss this inside part. She is popped. This girl's popped. And one more thing I kind of want to tell you, if you make your card like this girl, her arm, I wouldn't put any foam back there, because when you go to put it down, you're going to put this side down first, then this side. So when you go to put it in your envelope, her arm is behind this ballerina, because she's kind of more in the foreground than this one. I know that's kind of deep, but anyways, you get the idea. So that's how that card would look at the end. All right, and we'll have directions for you guys for the panels. If you want to take a picture or screenshot, there's what the panel measurements would be. I hope you guys have really enjoyed this crafty hour. I know I did. I hope you guys have a great night. Bye.